Hey everyone, welcome back to Wrath of Math. In today's video, we'll be going over how to add matrices. This is a viewer-requested video. I always appreciate those viewer requests, so be sure to leave yours down in the comments. Thankfully, adding matrices is a pretty simple process, so let's get right into it. First, it's important to know that we can only add matrices that have the exact same dimensions. So here's an example where we would not be able to add these two matrices. These two matrices do not have the exact same dimensions, so we cannot add them. The dimensions of this matrix here are 3 by 1, because it has 3 rows and 1 column. However, the dimensions of this matrix over here are 3 by 2, because of course it has 3 rows and 2 columns. So in order to add matrices, the matrices we're trying to add need to have the exact same number of rows and the exact same number of columns. We see that's not the case here, so we can't add these matrices. Now let's see how we add matrices when they have the exact same dimensions. Here are two 2 by 2 matrices. Since they have the exact same dimensions, we can add them together. They are both 2 by 2 matrices. They have 2 rows and 2 columns. So we can add them. Let's go ahead and do just that. As it turns out, adding 2 matrices is a very simple process. Like I said earlier, all we need to do is add the corresponding entries. Here's what I mean. When we add these 2 matrices together, the entry in the first row and first column is just the sum of the entries in the first row and first column in the matrices we're adding. So 1 plus 2, that's going to be 3. Similarly, for the entry in the first row and second column, we just have to add together the entries that are in the first rows and second columns of the matrices we're adding together. That's 2 plus 3. That's going to give us, of course, 5. Continuing on in this way, the entry in the second row and first column is obtained by adding the entries in the second rows and first columns in the matrices we're adding. In this case, that's 4 plus 6, that's going to give us 10. Then, for the entry in the second row and second column, we add the entries in the second rows and second columns in the matrices we're trying to add. That's 5 plus 1, which of course gives us 6. So hopefully you can see it's pretty straightforward. We can only add matrices that have the exact same dimensions. When they do have the exact same dimensions, all we have to do to add them is add the corresponding entries. So 1 plus 2, that gives us 3. 2 plus 3, that gives us 5. 4 plus 6, that gives us 10. And 5 plus 1 gives us 6. And don't let more complicated examples fool you. It's still the same process. Let's look at a more complicated example now. Let's say we have a matrix with entries 3. Let's say it has x plus 1 over here, and then maybe negative 2, let's say 0, we'll do x squared, and 3 down there. And we'll add this, of course, to another 3 by 2 matrix with entries negative x, entries negative 2, an entry of 4, entry of negative x, and x squared, and 7. And close that matrix. So again, here, all we have to do to add these 2 matrices, well, first, remember they have to have the exact same dimensions, so make sure to check that. We've got 3 rows in each matrix, and of course, we've got 2 columns in each matrix. So we're good to go. We can add these matrices, and to do that, all we need to do is add the corresponding entries together. So for the first row, first column, we just add the first row, first column entries together. That's 3 plus negative x. So we can write that here, 3 plus negative x, which, if you prefer, we could just write as 3 minus x. Now we'll try to go through the rest a little more quickly. First row, second column, add these together. That's x plus 1 plus negative 2. X plus 1 plus negative 2, and we could simplify that. 1 plus negative 2 is negative 1, so we could rewrite this as x minus 1. Then, second row, first column, add these together. Negative 2 plus 4, that's going to be positive 2. Then, second row, second column, add these together. 0 plus negative x, that's just negative x. Then, third row, first column, just add these entries together. That's x squared plus x squared, which is equal to 2x squared. Finally, the third row, second column, that's 3 plus 7. That, of course, will give us 10, and that is the sum of these two matrices. And you'll probably be happy to know that subtracting matrices actually works the exact same way, except you're just subtracting corresponding entries instead of adding them. But we'll talk a little bit more about that in another lesson. So just remember that to add matrices, the matrices need to have the exact same dimensions, the same number of rows and columns. To add matrices that have the exact same dimensions, all you have to do is add the corresponding entries. I think it's really pretty straightforward, and it works the same way with more than two matrices. So let me just show you a quick example here. Let's say we were adding 3 2x1 matrices. Let's say 3 and 0, and then this third matrix can have entries of -1 and -7. So here again, we can add all three of these matrices because they have the exact same dimensions. They all have 2 rows and they all have 1 column. To add all three of these, we just do the exact same thing we've been doing. Add together the corresponding entries. So we have 1 plus 3 plus -1. That's just going to be 3, and then change color here. We have 2 plus 0 plus -7. 2 plus 0 plus -7, that's just going to be -5. And that's all there is to it. So I hope this video helped you understand how to add matrices. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, need anything clarified, or have any other video requests. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time, and be sure to subscribe for the swankiest math lessons on the internet. And a big thanks to Valo, who, upon my request, kindly gave me permission to use his music in my math lessons. Link to his music in the description.
I've got teeth behind my eyes that tear the flesh from what is sacred. In my dreams I never die, and if I do, I just